Broadcasting live from the New Creations Weight Loss Studio in Little Rock, it's Crime Chronicle Live with your host, Val Emmons.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Crime Chronicle Live. I'm your host, as you heard, Val Emmons. And in the studio with me, I have Pulaski County Sheriff's Department Public Information Officer. Is that how you say it? PIO?
PIO.
Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Minden with me, and we have a great show lined up for you this afternoon. But first, we want to, last weekend was the prescription drug take back for actually the whole country, right? Or, I mean, the whole state.
Well, no, it was actually the whole country. It was National Prescription Drug Take Back Day.
Okay.
April 27th was the first one we did this year. We do two a year, so we say day, but it's actually occurs twice a year.
Okay.
All across the country, you had law enforcement agencies that paired up with, they have lots of different, the National Guard helps out, the DEA. We partner with some of the local organizations. We partnered with Baptist Hospital, Walgreens, Children's Hospital to set up our sites, and actually a local church. And we set up from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and opened up sites where people could come in whenever they wanted during that time span, drop off their old prescription drugs, no questions asked. We don't look at it. We just drop it in a container and take it from you, and had a really great day. Actually, we set a record.
What was how much did you take in?
We brought in 892.2 pounds of prescription drugs.
And so, what kind of drugs do when people return drugs? Is it just antibiotics or this, or is it hard drugs or?
Well, like I said, we don't really look at
them.
I know Minden PD was really at the forefront of doing this with the state drug director's office, and at the very beginning they did kind of keep count just to kind of see what we're looking at, what we're getting back, just so we would know. And so they actually painstakingly would count each pill.
Wow.
They didn't look at the pill boxes themselves, who it came from, whatever, but they would look and see how much OxyContin they had, how much Vicodin they had, how much just regular antibiotics or over-the-counter stuff that people brought in when they had their take-backs. And it varies. I mean, there's a lot of what you would call your hardcore prescription drugs are brought in, and there's a lot of it that is over-the-counter.
Right.
But even some of the over-the-counter stuff, if it can be abused as well.
Over-the-counter. When you say over-the-counter, are you talking
things you can get without a prescription? There's a lot of, you go into the pharmacy and there's just tons of medicines in there.
Right.
And even though you can just pull it right off the rack, you don't want kids getting into it.
Right.
You don't want to just throw it in the trash. You don't want to put it down the sink, just like with the regular prescription drugs. So we do get a lot of that. We have people turn in vitamins, all sorts of different stuff. You can see it. They'll have people walk up with trash bags.
What? Trash bags?
Well, I mean, what you'll have is maybe somebody had a loved one that was on hospice.
Right.
And they just really haven't had an outlet to get rid of it. And they carry it around and or just store it someplace and hope nobody gets into it, and then think, well, what can I do with it? And when we came out with the drug take backs, this finally gave them a way to dispose of it properly without throwing it in the trash or flushing it. And I mean, literally, we have people just walk up with kitchen-sized trash bags.
Well, and sometimes you don't think about why you shouldn't, because people will just think, well, just flush it down the toilet. But that goes into our water supply, correct?
It does, and that's one of the things that some of the studies that came out show that there's trace amounts of prescription drugs in the water supply. Now, how much is a trace element? I don't know. We on our meetings that we have with the state drug director's office, we have a lot of different partners. It's not just law enforcement. Law enforcement's just one group of it. We have people from the State Pharmacy Association. We have some of the EPA groups are there, nursing homes. There's a ton of people in there, so that it kind of branched out. You didn't realize how many people are actually affected by this whole problem. And so when you bring in the EPA, and it's not necessarily the federal EPA. I can't think of all the different little acronyms they have, but they would come in and tell us, hey, we don't really want them flushed down the sink. And I can't tell you as a police officer how many times I've watched people do it. We'd go out on a death call. If somebody has a loved one die in their house, you contact your local law enforcement agency. We come out, hospice nurses there. One of the things we used to be tasked with doing was watching them destroy all their medicines. And basically what they did is they flushed it down the sink. We just watched it, and then we signed off that it was done. And that was the way to do it. We didn't know any better.
Right. What now do you do with it?
Now, a lot of times,
I'm sorry, that's just interesting to me.
The hospice nurses a lot of times will carry like a little pre-made kit that they're going to have. A lot of times it's just kitty litter. I'm not a chemist, so don't ask me
Right.
how this works. But for
Right.
some reason, kitty litter can degrade the prescription drugs. They mix them up with that, and it makes it somewhat safe, and then that's disposed of later on.
Huh.
Sometimes they'll actually they'll leave it. It depends on what it is. If it's under hospice care, they can't leave it. If it's a high scheduled drug like
Right.
morphine or something like that, they can't
Right.
leave that with the family. If it's just like antibiotics, different things like that they don't actually take back, you're stuck with it, and you're stuck wondering how do I get rid of this?
And so this is how you get rid of it.
This is exactly how you get rid of it.
See, a lot of people don't think about all these different avenues where prescription drugs will be left and they're just abandoned, and people don't know what to do with them. So
Right.
it's a
Well,
great
I don't
thing.
think a lot of people realize that the law actually doesn't allow pharmacies to bring it back. They can't have it. So even
because
though
it's been out
it's
once.
been out,
Right.
and so they can't take it back. And we'd have pharmacists, like I was telling you earlier, my sister's a pharmacist, and they have people want to bring stuff back. Legally, they can't take it back. They're actually breaking the law if they take it back. So people
Wow.
have been confused for a long time as to how to get rid of it, and it really wasn't until the last, I think probably 2010, maybe into 2009, that law enforcement got involved, because legally, if you read the way the laws are written, we're allowed to take it back. They're like, well, what do we do with it? If
Right.
we take it back,
What-
we don't,
so
do
what-
we have a plan?
What do you guys do with it? Do you just send it off to the EPA guys and they handle it, or when you take like this 892 pounds of prescription drugs in, how do they dispose of those?
Well, what we do is we coordinate with the DEA and the National Guard, along with the Drug Director's Office for the state of Arkansas. And essentially, they help us collect it all. At different collection sites. So, I don't want to get too in depth on it because you don't want people to know exactly how we do it.
Right. Now, I just want to know how this
yeah.
is disposed of.
Well, everybody drops it off at their local site, their mass local sites. All the law enforcement, we drop it off, and they take it to a facility that incinerates it.
Oh,
And,
okay. So they burn it.
Right, they burn it, and it's a safer manner than flushing it. It's a
Right.
safer manner than throwing it in the trash. It's gone.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm sure that doesn't make everybody happy, because I'm sure somebody was grappling about the air quality, but we send it off to a reputable company that's all they do.
Right.
And so
I'm sure they have air filters and all those. Maybe
yeah, I
detecting.
mean, it's all that company does
Right.
is dispose of stuff. So it gets it out of everybody's system. I think originally it was called Operation Medicine Cabinet, because we wanted you to clean out your medicine cabinet.
Right. And that's a great thing I think that you're doing. Another great thing that I want to talk to you about is coming up, and that is National Police Week. You want to tell us about that?
Just a couple weeks away. It's actually set aside by the federal government. I actually voted this in a long time ago. There's actual a National Police Day. There's a big ceremony in Washington, D.C., and it's a time when most of the agencies here in Arkansas actually utilize that week to have our fallen officer ceremonies. Most of the police departments, especially in central Arkansas, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of officers over the course of time. We have memorials. Ours is located, just outside of our headquarters, Little Rock, North Little Rock. I know Jacksonville's planning to build a really nice memorial. Saw the plans on it the other day. This just gives us a way to honor those that have fallen, and this week just kind of a tribute week. As far as what we do around here, it mainly is just that one day. But if you were to go to Washington D.C., there's events. The National Law Enforcement Officers memorials actually there. There's a museum that they're building, and
Oh,
they
wow.
have events to just go on the whole week, and then finally they have a big ceremony.
And you were telling me that you're actually adding another officer to your memorial. You want to tell them about that?
Well, we are. I mean, we have 3 officers on a memorial, and it was brought to our attention that we actually have been overlooking a deputy that died back in 1911. Tony Perrin, who actually works for the Arkansas State Parks Police, we were at a meeting, and he mentioned that he does research on the side. This is, I don't want to say a hobby, but it's something he does. And he had found an article in the Democrat about the deputy's name was Barney Steele. So he finds the article, and he's been everybody knew that he died in the line of duty, but he was actually being attributed to Deshae County because that's where he died. Kind of find out he was the chief deputy of Pulaski County and had served for like 11 years. He was, I think it was in Dumas. He was in Dumas and visited his sister, and they had an incident go on, and
And he helped out?
He helped out and was actually killed along with the sheriff of DeShay County back in 1911.
Wow.
So he's been recognized before, but he just wasn't recognized
Here.
as being one of our deputies.
Okay.
So we're actually going to add his name to our memorial and do a special part for him. And actually, if anybody, we always try to invite relatives.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the hard things we're trying to find out is trying to find somebody's relatives that died in 1911. I mean,
right.
we've used some different methods, Ancestry.com and just about anything.
Have you been able to find any?
Not that are still alive. That's
Right.
been the hard part about it, and it's kind of every time we'll find one, it dead ends and stops. So I've actually kind of reached out to the local newspaper down to Shea County recently to see if maybe they
sister family carried on.
if somebody's
right.
down there, and maybe the name changes, changes if somebody recognizes it, but because we want the family to be involved, because we always invite our family members from the officers that have previously fallen,
Right.
because it means a lot to them. They're still a part of our family, and it gives us a way to honor, like I said, their loved one paid the ultimate cost,
Right.
and this way we can honor them.
Well, that's great, and I'll definitely have to attend some of those events. Right now, I want to tell you about Don's Weaponry, located at 4116 East Broadway in North Little Rock. You can call Don's at 501-945-2324, and you can go down, and they have the awesome indoor handgun range open every day from 11 to 9 with several different caliber and brands of range guns to shoot. You can go to Don to get your concealed carry license and a half-day class at Don's. They have shotguns from Benelli, Strogers, Remingtons. We have I don't. He has deer rifles of all types, calibers, and styles, black powder products. You can get your hunting license at Don's. He has all the latest from Smith & Wesson, Taurus, Springfield Armory, Glock, Walther, and more. And he has tons of ammo. You can buy a scope and all your other accessories at Don's. Don's opened 26 years ago with 900 square feet of equipment for hunters and shooters. Now Don's Weaponry has 6,000 square feet of anything you could possibly need for hunting, sporting, shooting, or collecting. So go by, see Don at 4116 East Broadway in North Little Rock, or you can give him a call at 501-945-2324. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today.
Don's Weaponry has been taking care of sportsmen for over 20 years. At Don's, you have a huge selection of new and used pistols and rifles, police trade-ins, holsters, scopes, ammo, reloading supplies, magazines, and more. 6,000 square feet of inventory, including a 7-lane pistol range open 7 days a week. Smith & Wesson, Taurus, Ruger, Kimber, Springfield Armory, Glock, Walther, and more. Stop by Don's Weaponry, 4116 East Broadway in Rose City for everything the hunter and shooter needs.
Well, Flo,
Uh-huh.
this is what you call a clogged drain tap.
Yep, looks that way.
Might need a drain extension, some new compound.
Maybe a flange or a twirly thingy.
A twirly what?
Or what you said. Those sounded great. Let's go with that.
Insuring your business vehicles with Progressive is like having Flo on the road with you. Low down payments, great discounts, and flexible billing options. Now that's Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. United Financial Casualty Company and Affiliates.
Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week? Crime Chronicle is the Central Arkansas publication for crime-related news. Pick up your copy today at any convenience store or gas station near you. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook/Crime Chronicle.
Don't be a victim. Keep listening to Crime Chronicle Live on KARN 102.9 FM.
We're back on the Crime Chronicle Live, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. So I wanted to talk to you guys about, I was reading this article today, and I wanted to kind of gauge some people's opinions out there in the audience. So if you want to call in, the number is 433-0092. and you can call and weigh in. I was reading an article on CNN, and I've also posted it to my Facebook page. You can find it under Valerie Emmons. And it's this article about unlocking crime using biological keys. It's a very interesting concept here, but I'm not quite sure if I fully believe in what this guy is saying. So what he's basically saying is bad brains result in bad behavior. And we know that from some of these things like the Connecticut shootings and things like that.
Well, there's a lot of the United States has a large mental illness problem.
Right.
I mean, that's documented. And it's a lot that law enforcement deals with. And the sheriff will tell you that our jail is one of the largest mental health institutes around, because we have a lot of the inmates in there are actually not just convicted of crimes, but they're also waiting for mental health evaluations through the state hospital, which is usually it's backlogged because there's only one state hospital in the state of Arkansas. So when they commit a crime and a judge orders a mental eval, they're in our jail. We have 2 psychiatrists on staff at the detention facility. Of course, we have 1,210 inmates. So I mean,
they're just holding them for eval.
Well, they're being held because they committed the crime, obviously. But one of the things that the judges will do is if there's a question about their mental stability, if it's brought up either by their attorney or put forth by themselves, or even brought up by law enforcement, the judge will order the mental health eval, and then you're on a waiting list to be evaluated by the state.
And so until you can get in. Or if you have can you get a private evaluation? Or
a lot of times that depends on the judge. Usually it's through the state hospital.
It has to be the state.
And so we have a lot that we have to deal with. Our correctional officers at the sheriff's office. At the sheriff's office have to deal with that every day. I mean, they have pill calls. I mean, because people have medical issues, but they also have psychological medicine that they're tasked with giving to them, and a lot of times they don't want to take it.
Wow.
So there are issues with mental health and crime and law enforcement. But as far as
what this article is saying is that they did a study over 200 twin and adoption studies, and that they showed that the full half of aggression, crime, and violence can be chalked up to genetic influences. So once genes are invoked, biological influences inevitably hold sway. So genes translate to altered brain function that in turn transforms behavior. More than 100 brain image studies have now documented structural and functional brain impairments in aggressive adolescents and violent adult offenders. So brain dysfunction is just as much a cause of crime as bad neighborhoods and poverty, yet it has been ignored because while it's easy to see bad neighborhoods, it's harder to peer inside a person's head. And so by ignoring these biological influences, we are turning our backs on finding an antidote and instead face more future violence. So seeds of sin are sown early in life and not just by genes. Toxic early environments are worse than brain functioning. So they also go on to say that mothers who smoke or drink during pregnancy double or triple the odds of their babies becoming violent offenders decades later, even after accounting for other social influences. So birth complications also predispose to adult violence, especially when combined with negative home environments. So born bad, not exactly, but early biological predispositions beyond the individual's control, propelling them on a flight path to violence, absolutely. So that's what they're saying, and you can find this on my Facebook page, and it's really it goes further into what they're looking at, but it's really interesting. But I'm not so sure that I'm not so sure that I believe that, because some people commit acts of passionate. What do they call that?
Acts of passion.
Yeah, acts of passion and violence, and that.
Well, I mean, you'll have what you would consider good, upstanding people that if the right emotional trigger occurs, that will do something that they normally wouldn't do.
Right.
That they know is ethically, morally wrong, but that trigger has occurred, and I guess you say they snap.
Right.
I mean, you could see some of that in that study that you could draw conclusions and say, yeah, I could see that, but that would have to be drawn out a lot for me.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
actually
I would
base
have
something on it.
I would like. I'm thinking about get this book, because the book is. What is the book is called? I'm sorry. The Anatomy of Violence. and it is by Adrian Rain. He is the Richard Perry University Professor of Criminology, Psychiatry, and Psychologically at the University of Pennsylvania, and a leading authority on the biology of violence. So he left his financial career and spent 4 years as a prison psychologist to understand why some individuals become violent psychopaths while others do not.
Well, that'd be a good place to do your field research, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could probably see it that way. And I'm sure, you could probably find a study that said just the opposite.
Right.
I majored in sociology, so obviously I look at it from the perspective of product of your environment. A lot of is a good product characteristic of how somebody commits a crime, but
Goes back to nature versus nurture.
yeah, a little bit. But then you see people that grow up in destitution, that grow up around all sorts of criminal elements, that don't have the world's greatest home life and stuff, and they come out of it and end up maybe being a police officer or doing something better than what you would consider they would do just based on their growth, where they grew up at. So I mean, what makes them different?
Right. Yeah, and I've often wondered that. What makes someone? But then you see some of these crimes that people commit, and you hear all day long, you will never understand why they're committing these crimes because you're not on that same level as some of these crazy people committing some of these crimes. And I guess it's true.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain point it is. And honestly, we've interviewed, hundreds of people that have committed homicides, and just here in Central Arkansas, and a lot of times, our main job is to figure out who did it. Obviously, we need motive involved in it, but as far as the deep psychological reason of it, we don't necessarily delve off into that. So
right, that's for the state hospital and
that's
the judge
for them to deal with and for them to cope with throughout the rest of their life. But
right,
because they really don't. Sometimes they'll open up and just start telling you all sorts of stuff. They'll tell you their whole life and why this affected this and why this happened. A lot of times they don't, and so it's just kind of a mystery as to why somebody does some of the violent things they do.
So I want to let everyone know, because not everyone understands how the Pulaski County or the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department differs and what their jurisdiction is. And so, can you kind of give listeners what your jurisdiction is?
Sure. And there's a lot of people have questions between sheriff's officers and state troopers and even highway police officers and city officers. Obviously we're all police officers.
Right.
We're all law enforcement officers. The sheriff is the ranking law enforcement officer in each individual county. There's 75 county sheriffs in the state of Arkansas. So we have jurisdiction anywhere in Pulaski County. You can see a sheriff's deputy in Jacksonville, Sherwood, Maumelle, North Little Rock, Kamek Village, Alexander, Wrightsville.
So if I'm on University
and you see a sheriff's deputy,
I see a sheriff's deputy,
can he stop you if you break the law?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm kidding. No, that wasn't my question.
No,
but
people ask us that all the time. They're like, "Well, we're not out in the county, because we answer calls out in the unincorporated part of the county. That's what the sheriff is responsible for. Our patrol is the unincorporated part. So if you're outside the city limits and you call 911 or you call the non-emergency number, a sheriff's deputy is going to respond. The city of Wrightsville actually is incorporated, but they contract with the sheriff's office, so we respond inside that city. So if you do that, we're the ones that come. We handle the calls. That's our crime area.
But if I live in the city and I make a call, it goes to the Little Rock Police Department.
Right. Now, if you call 911 off a cell phone, depending on where you're at, you may actually be in the city. It may get routed into the county. We'll route it.
Whoever's closer.
Yeah. Well, we'll route it back because their officers are going to be closer.
Right. Okay.
Just because the call came into the county doesn't mean our officers are closer. If we see a crime that's occurring, like if I'm driving down University, like you said, and I see somebody that's driving crazy, can I stop them? Sure. Can I write them a ticket? Sure. If you see a crime in progress inside the city, we take action on it, and we have the jurisdiction to do that. State troopers have jurisdiction statewide. Sheriff's deputies have jurisdiction countywide, and then police officers have jurisdiction inside their city limits.
Okay. Well, that's awesome because a lot of people don't know that.
They
Some
don't.
people think that if you're flying down the highway and you see a city police or a sheriff,
we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
so they
it's
just
not
keep
true.
flying. I've seen people get pulled over. I'm like,
Well, they'll tell you that. I've actually had people argue as to whether or not we can even write tickets. They're like, no, you guys.
And then that just makes you want to write them a ticket more, doesn't it?
Well, no,
I'm kidding.
It frustrates you to a certain point that people don't understand your job.
Right.
Because sheriff's offices have actually been around longer than municipal agencies. Sheriff's office has been around since 1819, so it's not like we just popped up on the board yesterday. But they'll ask you, what? I didn't think sheriff's deputies wrote tickets. I thought y'all just did the jail and served civil paperwork. We're like, no, we actually patrol. We have everything that a municipal agency has, and to a certain point, a little bit more. Like I said, because the sheriff is actually responsible for serving all the civil paperwork that comes through Pulaski County, all the writs and executions, the evictions, different things like that. Those are actually tasked to the sheriff.
All right, well, we have someone on the line. We have Stuart. Hi, Stuart. How are you?
Fine. When I was living in North Little Rock, I got pulled over. There's a little strip of Crystal Hill when you get off there at 30.
Yes, I know where that's at.
That's Pulaski County, not North Little Rock. And then it turns into North Little Rock. And he pulled me over on that little strip, and it was right by a street sign with the Pulaski County emblem on it. And I had to remind him that he's out of his jurisdiction. He didn't like that. So he still gave me the ticket.
So you got pulled over by North Little Rock?
What?
You got pulled over by North Little Rock?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But the judge threw it out because it was not in his jurisdiction.
Well, that happens. It's and I know exactly where you're talking about. It's kind of a.
It's just a little strip there.
Yeah, there's a goofy section right there where we have a little small section. If you drive off down Reed Road, it turns completely into the county. But yeah, it can be kind of confusing as to where you're at. I guess a lot of times that's where it's nicer to be the sheriff's deputy because we don't have to worry about that.
Right.
99 out of 100 people wouldn't have known that, and wouldn't have, they don't know. Cop pulls them over there, But I just thought that was kind of funny.
Well, you learned your lesson, right, Stuart? And you slowed down.
Oh, I don't know about that. But I know one thing.
Sheriff right here. No,
I'm 49 years
deputy.
old, and I've never been pulled over by a Pulaski County sheriff.
Well, you know
That's
what?
good,
Every time I say never, it happens. 15 minutes later. So.
And all my experiences with them have been pleasant.
Oh, that's good.
But,
I'm glad to hear that.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks for
All right.
listening,
Thanks,
Stuart. That was funny. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about my ride-along that I did with Sergeant Potter and immigration, how that works. So We'll be right back. Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week? Crime Chronicle is the Central Arkansas publication for crime-related news. Pick up your copy today at any convenience store or gas station near you. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Crime Chronicle.
The biggest stories. Only one station.
KARN.
News on the hour, on the half, and when it breaks. KARN News Radio. The news is now.
The Governor's Distinguished Scholars Award has been helping 300 students each year, but funding has been rough recently. Governor Beebe says the scholarship would only be able to fund 100 students this fall, but after receiving worried letters and emails, they found an answer.
During the recently concluded legislative session, members of the Arkansas Legislature and I worked together and crafted a solution to help these students. We found savings in one part of the budget that could be redirected to support the Governor's Distinguished Scholars Program. As a result, the state will once again be able to assist 300 new distinguished scholars this fall.
Statistics don't always grab you, but maybe this one will. The suicide rate among middle-aged people 34 to 64 in Arkansas has gone up by more than half just in the past decade. The CDC released a report based on death certificates between 1999 and 2010. Medical director for the Walker Clinic at UAMS, Dr. Eric Messias, says it's partly due to the economic downturn and mortgage crisis.
That group is also taking care of the younger population as well as the elderly. It's called the sandwich generation because you're taking care of your parents as well as your children when you are in that age bracket.
Dr. Messias says a red flag is when someone drops out of the job market, as well as isolation, alcohol, and prescription drug abuse.
Treatment is key. Having people not be ashamed of seeing a worker, a psychiatrist, or going to a mental health clinic.
He says states with stricter background checks for guns have lower suicide rates. Arkansas Children's Hospital has named a new president and CEO. Marcy Doderer is the current vice president now at Children's Hospital of San Antonio. She will replace Dr. Jonathan Bates. Scott Southern, KARN News Radio, 102.9 FM on air and online, KARNnewsradio.com.
Now's the time.
Now's the time to make a difference.
Now's the time to take a stand.
To get involved.
To make a change.
Now's the time to raise a hammer and drive a nail.
To build a wall.
And open a door to a new life.
Now's the time to help Habitat for Humanity build hope and change lives with a family in your community or around the world.
Now's the time.
Now, more than ever, help build it.
Visit Habitat.org.
Mom, I had the best dream.
Well, good morning to you, too.
Okay, so I was a knight. I had a sword, and our house was a castle. There was this angry dragon. It was kind of scary.
Oh, yeah?
But I protected the castle.
Oh, that's my brave little man. I'm glad our castle is safe.
Your home is your castle, and sometimes you need help defending it. The National Association of Realtors supports maintaining homeowner tax incentives because they make home ownership more affordable for more families. Learn more at houselogic.com.
Local restaurants, shops, salons, and more with savings of 50 to 90% every time. Live more, spend less. Download the mobile app now.
Now that's a real sweet deal.
Sweetjack.com.
Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today.
Pick up your copy of the Crime Chronicle today because you have a right to know.
And we're back. If you have a question for Lieutenant Minden, you can call at 433-0092. So I went on a ride-along with Sergeant Potter. I guess it was at the end of last year, around New Year's, right before New Year's.
Yeah, I think it was the end of December.
Yeah.
I remember it was cold.
Yeah, it was cold. And so we were just looking to catch a DUI because that was what my story was about. That I was looking. I mean, I didn't want to catch a drunk driver because, of course, we don't want that. But I wanted to see what happened and everything. But we came back. We were heading back to the department or the headquarters, and we get like probably a quarter of a mile from the headquarters, and this drunk guy pulls right out in front of us, weaves over into the other lane, and we just look at it, we're like, what in the, did you just see that? It was just crazy. And I put those pictures up on my Facebook, so they're up there so you can see this guy. And so he gets out of the car, and he's drunk. He's like hammered drunk. He has 2 IDs. He is Hispanic. He cannot speak English, and the car is registered to someone else. He tries to run from Sergeant Potter. it was
fast too.
Drunk, crazy, trying to run, and he was like, "Can I just, go home?" I guess that's what he was saying because they had to call out interpreters, but I could tell that's what he was trying to say. He was pointing over there, something after he got put in cuffs, but he was when I asked about. I wanted to know, and I never really got to follow up with it. What happens when these guys are illegal, and he has 2 IDs on him that are not his? He doesn't know, he's not telling you the same name that's on the IDs. So what happens when it comes out in the INS and all that? Now, what's the policy?
Right. Well, I mean, it is something we have to deal with, especially in Arkansas in general, because we're what's referred to as a cross-through state. Plus, there's a lot of agricultural industries in Arkansas, and so the migrant workers a lot of times will come here. Well, we actually institute policies regarding dealing with foreign nationals, and because there are certain rules and laws and regulations. You use all these legal terms about how we deal with it, and we're not actually able to enforce immigration laws as a municipal or a county or even a state officer. Now, there are times when the federal government and ICE have allowed certain agencies to be trained to do it. And there's been a couple agencies in Arkansas, I think, that have done it. Several agencies out in the southwestern United States where they're sort of deputized and allowed to enforce immigration laws. But on a whole, your local law enforcement is not allowed to enforce immigration laws.
Why? Do you know? Do you know why that is? Because it seems odd to me. You can enforce every other law, but you can't enforce that.
Well, immigration is a federal law, so I actually cannot. I don't enforce federal law. I can enforce, county regulations. I can actually even enforce a city ordinance if I'm familiar with it. Obviously, state law, but the actual federal laws, those are tasked to the federal officers. Your DEA agents, your FBI agents, your ATF, and your ICE agents. That's under their realm of authority, and that's why we do have close contacts with those agencies. There's certain things, like when it comes to interstate commerce, when we have an investigation going, we'll bring in whatever applicable federal agency it is, and they can actually charge them on a federal level and a state level. We'll do the state prosecution and a federal prosecution. So when it comes to immigration, I said we don't actually enforce immigration laws. We do work with some of the different agencies that handle it.
Do they come and get them? Does ICE come and get them most of the time?
They do. And actually, the sheriff's office was a part of a pilot program that started a couple of years ago. It's gone out to even, I don't know how many agencies across the state and nationally, but where, like when somebody gets booked into the Pulaski County Regional Detention Facility, we have to we run everybody, just to check see if they have local warrants.
But how do you run them if you don't? How do you run them if they have fake IDs?
Well,
that was
as I say, you run them through the system, but then everybody gets fingerprinted.
Okay.
So when you're fingerprinted in and it's brought into the system, and a lot of times people have previously been booked in, you can lie about your ID, you can't lie about your fingerprints.
Right.
There are different ways where it can connect, and our system actually linked in with ICE's system, so that if somebody was wanted, known to be an illegal alien or known to have some type of federal issue with them, that it kind of works hand in hand with that. And But
the first time they're in the system, you fingerprint them and all that, and then so when they come back, that's how you know who they are. You may not know their name.
You may not know their name,
right.
but
that's.
But immigration, ICE will come in. If you suspect somebody's illegal, obviously they're in here for committing a crime, so they'll deal with it.
All right, we have a caller. We have Mark from East Texas. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Yes. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. This is Hicks. I'm sorry, Mark. And you need to try and give your area code. I had to do a little research, and I'm driving a truck.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad you're listening, though. It was 501. I obviously figured that out.
I've been wanting to talk to a deputy. I've had a couple questions. I know in accidents, fatality accidents, especially on the highway, they do toxicology. Is that correct on the victims?
Yeah, in the state of Arkansas, it's actually, if it's a fatality-involved accident, it's mandated by law to do toxicology.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you check the cell phones to see if there was a cell phone involved by any chance in any way or fashion?
If they can find a cell phone, and, especially if there's suspicious natures about the accident, you can't figure out, if somebody just runs off the road and you try to figure out why they do that, if it wasn't a mechanical issue for the car or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's something they'll look into.
Okay, good. And is that recorded? Is there some kind of a record on statistics for fatalities involving cell phones?
The National Highway and Transportation Department does keep track of those type of issues.
Oh.
A lot of times on a local level, we don't, because
Yes, sir.
if you just look at it from the sheriff's office perspective, we may only work, maybe every so often. And
yes, sir.
So on a federal level, we get most of our stats to us from what they call it NHTSA, but like every time we fill out an accident form, it gets turned into the state. The state turns it into the federal government. That's where they get all the statistics across the country. If you've ever seen one of the accident forms, it's tons of blocks and fill in the block here, and it asks you 10,000 different things about the accident, and that's where those statistics start to pile up.
Now I know where to look. I'll do that, and here's one of the reasons I'm raising the question.
I was about to ask you that because you've made me curious.
Well, I'm a driver. I drive about 3,000 miles a week, and I see hundreds of these crosses on the side of the highway. Right. Various forms, just like in Arkansas. And it always raises suspicion. I'm like, what in the world caused this? I mean, you'll see anywhere from 2 to 10. I mean, that's very traumatic. That's a lot of bloodshed and a lot of pain and agony, and plus the trauma for the first responders. And it would be nice if there was a standardization, and if we were able to put a cross, not a cross necessarily because it's religious, but a monument that's recognizable as a cell phone accident and fatality on the side of the road. And then there'd be no doubt about what caused this accident or what was involved in it. You follow me?
I completely follow you.
I actually agree with you.
Yeah.
That would be a
All right,
great
what I want to do, and I'm on my way back to Texas. I've got meetings with the county judge and my Congressman Hensling, his senior aide. But I want to start a program, and I want to furnish these monuments and have them designated, put into state specs, that if the people will sign up and if they're a fatality, we will put the monument up. That'll be one less problem that the family has to deal with on putting something up. And I think the funeral probably and the funeral plan, all that's really traumatic enough, you know. But we'll do it. I want to set this up free of charge, and it's mainly an awareness deal. I see parents watching their kids at the dinner table, and the kids don't put the phone down. They're not eating. They're texting. And the fork in one hand, I saw this the other night for 30 minutes. They're texting. The table is to eat, the car is to drive, you know, and it's not for phone.
I completely agree with you. Yesterday I was on my way to work, and this woman, she just pulled right out in front of me. She was on her cell phone, and I was like, I stopped at the light, and I rolled down the window, and I said, you need to get off your cell phone, lady.
I mean, it's a problem.
It's crazy.
There's no doubt about it. And we do a lot of public service announcements about, you know, people texting and driving. You know, it's obviously it's something, you know, when they see a marked unit pull up beside them, you know,
put the phone down.
And put it away.
Right.
My daughter looks for it. She pointed out to me yesterday driving down the road. She goes, "Hey, Daddy, that guy's texting." And I'm like, "How can you tell?" She goes, "Oh, I'm watching him. He's doing it." You know.
Oh yeah. Well, you ought to see from a truck driver standpoint, the trucks, the cars and vehicles that pass you and are involved in this. It is, and in fact, I saw a wreck this morning. It was a solo car rollover. All the glass was busted out just as I left the truck stop up in Illinois, and I don't know. It just happened, and I mean, police were just arriving on scene. I don't know if the person was a fatality or what. It was way down an embankment too, so it's pretty tragic. And truck drivers are doing it too. Don't think they don't run off the road for some reason, you know.
I think you have a headset on though, don't you?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yes.
And I'm not driving either. I pulled over.
Oh, gotcha.
And our company policy is we've got one of the safest companies on the highway, and they're very strong. And on maintenance repairs, our equipment is excellent, you know. But cell phones are forbidden on our company. If you're going to use it, pull over.
Well, thank you for calling in, Mark, and thank you for listening.
Okay. Well, work for the foundation, and I'll be contacting, or someone, I hope, will be contacting Sheriff's Department. I've got a person in L.A. that's volunteering. I've got one in Indianapolis now that's not a quadriplegic. I guess he's, you know, he got ran over. A semi pulled out in front of him, and he ran over it on a motorcycle. But he's doing nothing, so he's volunteered. And you know, I'm trying to get people signed up. I find a lot of interest in truck drivers too.
Well, why don't you look up Crime Chronicle and send me your information on Facebook? Are you on Facebook?
Okay. No, ma'am, I do not use that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you my I'm going to give you my email, and it's ccvalemmons EMMONS @gmail.com, and you can send me some information. We'll see what we can do to help you out.
Hey, man, that'd be great. That'd be great. I've already got truck stops that are going to help. Okay.
I think you got a great idea.
Yeah. CC, like Crime Chronicle, CC, Val Emmons, VALEMMONS @gmail.com.
Val, MONS?
EMMONS.
EMMONS.
That's it.
Oh, okay, Val Emmons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Val. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Tell the deputy, keep the good work up, and hey, start nailing these semis that are tailgating and using their trucks to threaten and intimidate drivers, you know, trying to push them out of the way.
Thank you.
Hey, you know, I will have to say, though, I've worked for state, county, and city law enforcement. Truck drivers are actually some of the most safe drivers I've ever been around, though.
They need to improve further.
There are a few that, you know, like anybody else that break the law, but
yes,
on the whole, truck drivers, I'll ride beside an 18-wheeler before I will some of these other guys, to be honest. You guys are very good drivers.
I will agree with that, and in fact, some of our companies, I think, is one of the better ones. You know, and I see some bad ones too, but they're usually the rogues and rebels, independents. You know, they're not the major carriers.
Well, a lot of times, you know, that CDL is easy. It's hard to obtain and easy to lose. So.
Yep, I love that Qualcomm. I really do. I mean, it keeps the company honest. They can't mess me around, and make me drive more than I'm supposed to. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we got to take a break, Mark. Send me some information.
Thanks, guys. We'll do. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Bye-bye.
We'll be right back. Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today.
Have you heard? Proactive is better than ever. Stay tuned for a 1,000,000 bottle giveaway, and you'll also receive free shipping. Do you have troubled skin, acne? Well, we have great news. With Proactive, your acne can heal, and you can prevent new breakouts from happening. Don't miss this limited time offer. Give us a call at 1-800-620-4646 because we're going to let 1,000,000 people try Proactive risk-free, get 2 free gifts, and also receive free shipping when you call right now. You heard it. This offer won't last long, so call Proactive now and you'll receive a 60-day risk-free trial of Proactive, 2 free extras, and free shipping. Call 1-800-620-4646. This is our best radio offer ever. Get your risk-free 60-day trial of Proactive plus free shipping. That's right, free shipping. Don't wait. Visit getproactive.com or call 1-800-620-4646. That's 1-800-620-4646.
Don's Weaponry has been taking care of sportsmen for over 20 years. At Don's, you have a huge selection of new and used pistols and rifles, police trade-ins, holsters, scopes, ammo, reloading supplies, magazines, and more. 6,000 square feet of inventory, including a 7-lane pistol range open 7 days a week. Smith & Wesson, Taurus, Ruger, Kimber, Springfield Armory, Glock, Walther, and more. Stop by Don's Weaponry, 4116 East Broadway in Rose City for everything the hunter and shooter needs.
Waste Management is making it easy for Little Rock to think green with environmental solutions like single-stream recycling for business. Now your company can toss the recyclables we accept into a single container. Paper, plastic, aluminum. You collect it, Waste Management picks it up, sorts it, and ships it out for reuse. Recycling with Waste Management is good for your company, good for the environment, and good for your bottom line. So think green. Just go to WN.com/Little Rock. Certain restrictions apply.
Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week? Crime Chronicle is the Central Arkansas publication for crime-related news. Pick up your copy today at any convenience store or gas station near you. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook/Crime Chronicle.
You're listening to Crime Chronicle Live with your host, Val Emmons.
That would be me. Welcome back, Crime Chronicle Live. Next, I want to talk about this. Yesterday, Republican Senator Ted Cruz challenged Vice President Biden to an hour debate on reducing crime. Of course, I would watch it, but I wanted to play a little bit of that speech that he gave yesterday for you. So you want to hit that, Josh?
But I will say this, I am looking at an army. And the voice of each of you is how we win. And because each of you spoke out, and because millions of Americans spoke out 2 weeks ago when the proposals came to a vote, every vote that would have undermined the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms was voted down. That's your victory. It's the victory of the American people, but let me caution you, this fight isn't over. President Obama and Joe Biden have both been coming out saying they intend to come back at it. You know, I have to note, by the way, Vice President Joe Biden did have some very helpful advice on this issue. You know, he said if your house and your family are ever under attack, all you need to do is go outside with a double-barreled shotgun and fire both barrels in the air. Which is very, very useful if it so happens you're being attacked by a flock of geese. Vice President Joe Biden has said he is going to lead the fight to bring the legislation back, to try to pressure the votes that went against it and to try to force it through the U.S. Senate. Well, I would like to issue an invitation to the Vice President. I would like to invite the Vice President, if he believes the answer to violent crime is not prosecuting felons and fugitives, not prosecuting gun crimes, but going after the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens, I would like to invite the Vice President to engage in an hour-long conversation and debate. How do we stop crime?
I, for one, would be present during that debate. That's just flock of geese. If you're shooting at a flock of geese, Ted Cruz is amazing. He's a great guy. And so we guys for tuning in with us today. And I wanted to clear something up because last week I brought up about the university shooting with Mr. Hobbs being shot. Right. And I said that, if he would have broken to a car, probably anything in it that he was stole would have not equivalated to a misdemeanor. But Lieutenant Minden. Oh, I'm sorry. Lieutenant Minden has clarified for me.
Breaking into a vehicle is a felony.
So regardless
of what he took, if he just took, a $5 bill, or if he took something that cost over $1,000, he committed a felony as soon as he broke in the car.
Okay. I thank you for clarifying that. I'm always looking for those answers. I cannot know everything, people. I try. I consider myself a know-it-all, or people call me a know-it-all, but I don't. So I'm like you guys. I'm searching for the information, and when I find it, I report it back to you. And I also wanted to let you know, because I found something fantastic, HCG, the HCG diet at New Creations Weight Loss. I lost 32 pounds, and it is absolutely amazing. I have had people come up to me saying, I saw you last month. I'm serious. I have lost 32 pounds in less than, it was 35 days. It's crazy.
Pretty impressive. I think I found them.
Yeah. You found them. Well, if you want to lose them to someone else, you can give Dr. Schroeder a call at 501-791-6795. That's 501-791-6795, and you can be on your way. I had a couple people find me on Facebook and get his number, and they set up appointments, and they're on their way. And Dave's also lost a lot of weight doing this. I'm not sure. I think like 20, 25 pounds. But if I would have known about this diet over the last year, before I spent all the money on all the other diet things that did not work for me, I would have definitely done this first, because now I'm in the maintenance phase of it, and it's just amazing. My clothes fit again. It's like shopping in my closet, because I kept all my, it's only been like a year and a half since I put on all that weight, but it's like going into my closet. I'm like, oh, I remember this. Oh my gosh, I can wear it again, and it's looser than it was when I had it before. So give Dr. Schroeder a call. 501-791-6795, so that you can be on your way to feeling fabulous and healthy again. And so next week we will talk to you guys more about what's going on in the Central Arkansas area, and then of course we'll give you maybe some legislative issues. Oh, South Carolina, I just want to leave you with this. South Carolina House just passed a bill making it illegal to implement Obamacare. That's we'll bring the follow-up on that one next week. So look into that on my Facebook page. And we'll see you next week.
You're listening to Central Arkansas's only radio show on crime, Crime Chronicle Live, with your host, Val Emmons.